Hi, I'm Anu, and I'll be presenting the front end for you. If you're still unsure about what Unclutter is all about, make sure to go check out our advertisement at the top of the page, or watch our introductory video above by Amy. Also, if you would like us to rather demo Unclutter to you in person, please scroll down to the end of this webpage and start a live stream with us. Lastly, if you would like to use Unclutter for yourself while I explain the front end to you, you can find the link at the top of the page, or just go to unclutter.amensis.com. The focus of our application, and in particular the front end, was to provide an easy and intuitive interface to group all our information into one platform. Your mind works in concepts, and if you were exposed to a lot of information, your brain would tend to break this information down and find common links and relations between these to help you remember the concepts. This is why we've used a mind map to represent our data from all your relevant social media. So if we go to unclutter.amensis.com, you'll be taken to our landing page, as you can see over here. On your landing page, you'll see two buttons that I've labeled 1 and 2. This is your number 1, which is your sign me up button, and number 2, which is your log me in button. We've decided to put a little bit of information on our landing page just to give the user introduction into what our system's about before they log in, just so they have a little bit better understanding of what they can expect. So if you click on the sign me up button, you'll obviously be taken to your register page where you can select your data sources, which will be displayed into your mind map. And if you select your the log me in button, you will be taken into a login form if you have previously registered. So we're going to be starting out by signing in, because we obviously don't have an account with Unclutter, and we're going to be using our account that we created specifically for demo purposes, but you can use any of your Gmail accounts. The concepts are all the same. All your emails, Facebook and Twitter accounts will work. So we're going to select Gmail, and we're going to log into our Cuban COS account, which is our demo account, and then just allow us to get that access token from Gmail. This access token is what gets sent to our backend through our WebSocket, and this will allow us to use the information from Gmail's API. So this is the information like their profile and their email, so we can view and store this information to create the topics and the links. The same goes with Facebook. Since I'm already logged in on my computer on the demo account with Facebook, it will automatically log me in, as you can see. And for Twitter, the nice thing about Twitter is that you don't necessarily have to use your own Twitter account. You can link it to any account that you want to see more information about. For instance, and for example, if you want to see the university's Twitter account just to know on any updates or anything, this will all be shown in your mind map. I'm going to put in the CNN account so we can get news alerts in our mind map. Once you've selected all of your data sources that you want to be shown into your mind map, you click done, at which point we'll take all the access tokens for Gmail, Facebook and Twitter, if you have selected them, and send them to the backend through the WebSocket front-end application. This will start up all the relevant polars, and if you want more information about the polars, please watch the backend video that Armand has created. So let's send this information. Once it's sent, we'll redirect you to a help page where you can get a little bit more information about the system. We'll show you short tutorial videos while we load all your topics from your relevant data sources. As you can see at the moment, there's a message that popped up that says that we'll get things ready for the user, and they can look around at the videos. As you can see, we have a tutorial on how to do the movement of the graph, as the graph is fully able to move around the canvas. Show the user how to expand by right-clicking, expanding, deleting, getting more information like double-clicking on a node to bring up the sidebar, and just telling the user just to be patient because this application heavily relies on your internet connection. But everything will be explained to you in due course when I actually go through all of the things. As you can see here on the side, we got a "We are ready" button that popped up, so we can go to our main page and see our mind map being built. At the moment, we are sending all our topic requests to the backend, and as you can see, it's filling up the graph by dynamically selecting a bubble and expanding it. If we look at our graph, we can do a few actions such as moving the canvas around. We can move the graph around and move any bubbles which seem a little bit cluttered to us to any position that we want. There are a few options when you right click a bubble. This is expanding, hiding a bubble, refreshing the graph, and toggling a topic or contact bubble, which I'll all explain in a bit. But at the moment, I'm going to go over our interface. As you can see, I've added numbers to all of our things we're going to explain. So firstly, we have number 1 over here, which is our logo. And it's also a nifty back button for when you're in the settings or in help page and you want to get back to your graph. Number 2, we have our green bubbles, which are your contact bubbles. They are people in your life or organizations that are relevant to you and relevant to topics, and they'll show up as green. We can't always accurately predict whether a bubble is a topic or a contact. So if you would manually like to set a bubble to be either a contact or a bubble, you can do so by right-clicking the bubble and selecting the toggle button. We can show this by looking at a bubble like Amy Lochner, which is a person, but it's been seen as a topic. If I right-click it and say toggle topic contact bubble, this will send a request to the backend to save this permanently, so next time you load your graph it will be green, and it will change the bubble to a contact node. Number 3, the topic nodes. We found these topics by using the natural language processor by Stanford, which is explained in the back end, and we found the relevant links accordingly between the topics. The closer a topic is to your Me bubble, the more relevant it is in your life, and therefore the more emails or posts you've had on that relevant topic. We've created our own temporal and quantitative algorithm to accurately determine where a topic should be in relation to all the other topics. Number 4 is the purple bubbles. These purple bubbles are your most relevant contacts. That you'll see that they usually are the ones that are in green, but these are the most relevant people that you'll have in your life, and a quick access to them. As you can see, we've expanded these ones for you already. Number 5 is the help button, which will redirect you back to the help page where you could watch the tutorial videos again to try and figure out how to navigate and how to expand bubbles again. Number 6 is your settings, which will bring up the settings menu with a few quick access settings and an account settings where you could change your settings permanently, and some few theme options which I'll go through later. Some of the quick access things that you can do is you're changing your branch factor, so how many bubbles you have around a particular bubble, and the depth limit, so how far you want it to expand after every refresh, and refreshing the graph. Just in case you have new data that comes in, you would like to see that data being reflected in the graph, you could click this button and it will show you. And lastly, number 7 is your logout button, which will log you out from your session so you can log in as another person or log in another computer. Now for some functionality of the graph. Each node has the ability to either expand into more nodes, or by double clicking on the node you'll be able to open the sidebar to actually view the data we've collected on that particular node to see why it is where it is in the graph and why we've seen it as relevant. And lastly, if you right click and delete a node, this will be permanently deleted from your graph so you never see it again. For example, if I look at a weird topic like the CA one, I'm sure it has relevance in our emails that we have collected from you, but CA is not a relevant topic to me. I don't understand what it means. So if I want to remove it, I can right click and hide bubble. This will send a request to the back end to hide this bubble for you, so it won't show up in your graph again. Now it only has taken out that particular bubble. If you want to remove the other CAs in your graph, which it has found because it is relevant to YouTube and Maria, refresh your graph and it won't show up again. Now for the functionality of expanding a node. Let's say you have a horse, and in your emails you regularly talk about this horse, but you don't remember when you last wrote it, but you remember the last time you wrote it was with the person Untitled. You could follow the contacts branch, which will bring up your quick contacts, one of which is Untitled because you stay in regular contact with this person, and you can see that you have a common link of a horse. If I right click and expand the horse, it will go and retrieve the most relevant topics for that horse bubble, and as you can see, we can see that last time we wrote this horse was on holiday. If you really wanted to see what information we collected and what Gmail or Facebook posts we got on that particular topic, you could just double click on your horse bubble and it will bring up the sidebar to show you all of the posts. Before we get into that, another feature that we've implemented is a little pop-up that comes up time to time to remind the user to refresh their graph if it has old data in it. If you remember, we deleted the CAs, but it still shows up in the graph because it wasn't the node that we removed. So this way we ensure that the user will have old data removed, and that if any new data like Gmail or Facebook posts have been collected, because our application is real-time, this will be reflected in the graph. But I'll close this for now so we could show the sidebar functionality. As I said before, we wanted to find information about why we had these certain topics coming around our horse bubble. If we double click on horse, it will send a request to the backend to open the sidebar. We've implemented a feature that will go collect image for us from Google's API to show in the sidebar, just to make it a little bit more prettier. And this image is also cached on our side, so once you've downloaded it, you won't have to download it again. We show your topic name and the path that you took to that topic, just in case you didn't want to look at the graph. Our sidebar can be expanded and contracted, just in case there is emails or stuff that needs a little bit more space to be viewed. Or if you wanted to look back at the graph, you could do so. If we want to see the Facebook posts, we click on the Facebook tab, and here you can see why we had those relevant topics around. Here we had horse riding with Amy Lochner, so if we expanded Amy Lochner, we would find the horse topic there. Testing my own account, you can see the bubble account popping up over here. And our other topics will come in when we go to Gmail. You can see the Gmail emails coming over here. If we expanded horse again, we'll start seeing more less relevant but still relevant topics coming out. Stuff like Nando's, advertisements, pizza, all which would all still be relevant, but just not as relevant, and because we had set a limit of a branching factor of 4, we won't see those come up. But if you start expanding more, you would have more nodes around that particular branch. We give a little bit of functionality to like your tweets and Facebook. So if you go back to the Facebook tab, you can see that you can like from our application, comment and share. You can view the comments that we have here. If I opened a Twitter bubble, you could retweet from our application. Clicking on back on the graph, we go back to where we were. And then our last functionality is the refresh. So as I said before, there's two ways that you can refresh. You can either refresh by right-clicking and going to the refresh button, or you could go into the settings and press the refresh button over there, or when the pop-up comes up for you to refresh your graph, you could click on there and it will refresh it for you. So we're going to just refresh it from here, and you'll start seeing that we've sent our topic request to the back end. And there you can see our bubbles start popping up again. Okay, so I'm going to show you the settings now. I've gone into the settings, the quick access settings menu, and clicked on account settings, so I could show you how the settings works. The first thing that you're greeted with is those familiar buttons you saw when you registered, but instead now you have the option to remove the data sources if you don't want to have them in your graph anymore, or you can add them again. Because of our high decoupling in the back end, and because of our API, when you, as a developer, add a new data source such as LinkedIn or Instagram, we allow that channel for you to be opened in the front end so that you could add buttons like your LinkedIn button and your Instagram button, or which will be showed here and in your data sources page, so you can select them once you've added them in the back end. Once you've made your changes here, which I'm not going to make any changes, you can click the Save Change button, and that will send a request to the back end to permanently save this information. The last thing on this tab, on your account tab, is your deactivate account. This will stop you from being able to log in again, but once you re-register again, you'll be able to get those topics back. We don't actually delete your account off our system, just in case you would like to come back again. Your next tab is your theme tab. This allows the user to fully customize the colors that they don't like, or if they would like to get a more darker feel for the map, they could do so. So I'm going to change the navigation bar color to a green, the bubble map color to black, and the sidebar color to black. And we'll save these changes, which you'll see a saving pop-up come up on the side, and it will say that it's saved once we have done. Lastly, we look at our user preferences. Here you can see our branching factor and our depth factor again from our quick settings, but this time it will be saved permanently in our database, so next time you open your graph again, it will set the default branching factor and depth factor for you. And our last feature is the reload graph after every refresh. We've serialized our graph after every time somebody refreshes the page, so that we can load it back from local storage onto the user's canvas, so they wouldn't have to rebuild their graph every single time. At the moment it's switched on, so I'll show that functionality to you later. We click the back button on Unclutter. We should see our theme being activated, which is the dark theme. And here we can see our dark theme being implemented. We've inverted the colors so that all your text of your bubbles are white against the black, but we've kept our familiar colors so that we can stay constant with our themes. Our last feature of our graph is the persisting of the graph, as I said earlier, where we stringify our graph and save it in local storage, so that when a user refreshes the page, like I will now, it will just load the graph back from its previous state with all its bubbles and positioning and everything back onto the user's canvas, so they wouldn't have to rebuild the graph every single time. And when they would like to rebuild the graph, they can just refresh the graph. This option can be switched off, as I've shown before, with the toggle. So I'm going to refresh the page, and it should quickly reload all of the nodes and put it on the canvas just as it was. This dramatically increases performance and loading times, and provides the user a little bit more control over their graph. We've also played around with their performance to make sure that the user gets the best user experience. This is in terms of looking at the user's frame rate when they are loading the graph and switching off certain animations like the wobbly edges, as you can see here, will switch off when the frame rate gets a little bit too low, just to make sure that the user will always get the best experience. Lastly, I'll show you how to log out and log back into the system again. You can log out by going into the log out button. This will take you back to the landing page that we were on in the beginning, except this time we're going to be clicking on the login button. This will bring you up to this form where you can either log in with Google or Facebook. Depending on which data sources you chose, you were required to choose either Google or Facebook as described in the message above the register. As I've selected Google first, I'm just going to log into the Google account. It will bring you up with a little message screen that says welcome a Cuban cause, which is our account name for the demo. You press continue, we make sure that everything's alright on our side, and once we've done loading all of your stuff, we will take you to the main page. We've also optimized our front-end application for mobile devices. This means that any component that we have will resize to a phone screen, and any touch controls will be enabled on the web application. This is things like being able to move the graph with touch controls, being able to expand the graph by holding in and right-clicking, things like that. If you look here on the side, we have our collapsible nav bar, so all of our stuff gets collapsed into this nav bar for an easy way for you to interact with the menu, and settings as well. Expanding the sidebar is the same as it would be on a computer, except now you just double tap on a node. So we're going to double tap on the holiday node to expand the sidebar and retrieve the posts for that, and it will expand like it would on the computer, except it will now be full screen to give you a better view and better touch controls for your application. Okay, it's loaded our Gmail, and here you can see it's the same. You have your posts. Then clicking on the back button will take you back to the graph where you can interact with it again. If you would like to ask any more questions about the front end, please feel free to contact us on the form box that we provided for you. And if there are any questions related to the back end, please watch the video that Ahmed has made underneath this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this demonstration of the front end.